This
all of our meetings
conference will
so that if
now be
anybody
recorded.
misses them and wants the information,
Oh, okay.
this way we can put them on YouTube, and if people miss any information, they can go back and listen to it. And we will send you all, anybody who has an email that they can send me, if I don't already have it, I can send you the YouTube and you can listen to it later if you would like. So this is our first virtual meeting. Very exciting. This is Terry Fool, for those of you who didn't hear who I was to begin with. And this morning we have a new staff member from Northland Neighborhoods, and his name is Eli O'Sullivan Kurtz. And he is going to be doing a lot of special projects. He's going to be doing some neighborhood work. He's going to be doing a lot of mapping and all kinds of fun things. We have a lot of fun things that we hope to get to do in the future should we ever, be able to go back to work. But we are working. NNI is. We are working remotely. Hopefully soon. We are working remotely from our homes, and we're getting a lot done, believe it or not. And so anyway, I want to introduce Eli. This is interesting, Eli. We had interviewed some people, and we were trying to fill a position. And Eli's first day was on the day that we had to be out of the office. And so he came in and he got a 2-hour introduction to Northland Neighborhoods and then had to go. So he has learned everything about us from his home on a computer, and he is doing fantastic. He is a brilliant young man who is got all of our meetings set up on GoToMeeting and is doing all kinds of great things. So Eli, I turn it over to you. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Terry. My name is Eli, as we know, and it's good to be here. I'm going to be acting as the moderator, so to speak, for today, although I think our format today is a little different than usual. We've got Officer Bill Keeney here, who's going to give some information to you folks, and then eventually we hope to also have Officer Rick Jones in here as well. So, Officer Keeney, welcome. How's it going this morning?
It's going great. I'd like to thank everybody for inviting us out to be able to talk to you. I know it feels probably more like a talk radio show to a lot of you, and that's perfectly fine. I have a better voice than I do have looks, so I think I'm made for radio. What I'm going to do is I'm going to probably give a little bit of things that's going on with COVID-19 and what we have seen and some of the projects that your Shoal Creek Patrol Division has done, and also what we've been doing throughout all of Kansas City, Missouri, as community interaction officers and as a police department as a whole. And then after I get done talking about that, I'd rather have it where we open up to questions from anyone who might have anything to ask an officer, and that would be perfectly appropriate. First and foremost, it's been a real trying period for a lot of individuals within our community since COVID has kicked off. I would like to be able to thank Northland Neighborhoods, Inc. for assisting the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, especially with some of the service projects that we've been able to do. One of the things that we have done is we've partnered up with harvesters and also with Aldi's and a few other donators who have been given donations, everything from food boxes to masks to gloves and just basic essentials to be able to get out into our high risk and vulnerable populations. We've assisted by giving out a lot of food boxes, including to some of our seniors, to a lot of our seniors that are homebound. Because one of the things we want to make sure is that during the COVID-19, as we all know, that the older we get, our immune system generally it becomes a little bit more compromised, and we saw all the CDC reports in regards to that, and that we didn't really want our seniors feeling like they had to get out as much. And one of the things that we figured we could do to assist with that is to be able to give food boxes to our seniors. And it seemed to be very well received. We still have a few food boxes. We're going to be doing another push out this Friday. We also paired up with our North Kansas City School District And with some of the food donations that we've had, we've partnered up with them to deliver them to some of our families who have been unemployed because of the shutdown. And it seems like the ones that really were affected most were that below middle class but above poverty that were hit the hardest within our Northland community. And the reason why is a lot of those family members work 2 or 3 jobs in order to be able to provide for their families. And a lot of those jobs were non-essential. And so they were put on a furlough or a layoff. And in between that time of waiting for the PPE and also the CARE funding that was going to come in through the government, a lot of them didn't have any kind of cash flow. And so when it came down to it, we wanted to be able to assist them. And with the North Kansas City schools, we delivered lunches at all the school stops, and that was all done by the North Kansas City School District. And then we, the community interaction officers, the Shoal Creek Patrol Division, and also North Patrol, went out and gave out food boxes on the weekends. So that way, over the weekend, some of those families that were high risk would be able to have food at home. I don't want to make you all think that everyone was starving, because neighbors have become more neighborly. It took us having a crisis like this to see neighbors out walking. We've seen more people out walking about and taking walks. I think we have a lot of happy dogs out there. A lot of people are taking their dogs out for walks 2 or 3 or 4 times a day, and we love it. We absolutely love seeing neighbors out there, and as we're out on patrol, they wave at us, we wave at them, and then what it makes them realize is that there actually are police officers that do patrol the neighborhoods in between calls. One thing that's been kind of interesting during this whole crisis is we reached out and did a couple happy birthdays to some of our younger kids that some were disabled, and a few others that we really worried about. And then all of a sudden we started getting birthday requests quite a bit, 2 or 3 a day, sometimes up to 4 or 5 a day. And we felt so bad, because our primary duty is still to answer calls for service and to provide safety for our community. And it was really hard, because we started having to put a slowdown to that. Another thing was, a lot of people wanted us to do parades and have parades go by with their kids having birthdays, and they were putting out requests to us and sending emails. And it was really hard on us to basically just say no to some of them, saying, hey, we're not available on that date or time. We have something else pressing going on. But for the most part, the community was very accepting of that, and they knew that our primary duties and jobs and what we were supposed to do. Crime is one of those things everyone asked a police officer during COVID. The number one asking to police officers is domestic violence. Has domestic violence increased because people are at home? They are spending a lot more hours at home together. We all know that our little pet peeves start to get on us a little bit more when we have to be all cooped into the cabin together. That we have seen. We have seen an increase in domestic violence. The other question was, what about child abuse? Are you having a lot more child abuse cases reported in? The reality is that we haven't seen an uptick in child abuse cases or reports. The one thing that we as a Kansas, Missouri Police Department, and also our social workers and our Department of Family Services are worried about, is that if the violator is now always at home with the individual, how is the victim going to be able to report it? They're going to be fearful to report it. And that's a big concern for us. And so a lot of our school districts, what they have done, especially the North Kansas City School District, they have gone ahead and done phone calls. They've called up all the different families. I belong to Winnetonka Nation and also to the Northland Coalition with the schools. And I just had a conference call meeting with them yesterday, asking how that has been. And they said it's the first time in a long time when a teacher tries to make a phone call to family members at home, because generally at night those phone calls are ignored. But during COVID-19, they've actually been successful in making those contacts, because people are at home. Someone's answering the phone. They themselves have a lot of different resources that they could provide also for the families. I must say that compared to the rest of the city, Northland is strong. It is very strong. It is very community oriented. We see a lot of our school district, we see a lot of our community providers really stepping up to the plate and assisting one another. The number one complaint that we have during this whole COVID is speeding. It's interesting. People they can't go to stores, they can't go out shopping, so they're going to go out and do drives. And while they're doing their drives, they tend to have a little bit of a lead foot. We're seeing a lot of complaints coming in from the neighborhoods stating that people are driving way too fast. What can we do? Slow things down. I think if I get one more speed bump request to be put through a neighborhood, I think I might just go crazy. I think we should have speed bumps all over the place in the Northland, obviously, because that's been the solution by everybody. They email me, they call me, they text me. We need speed bumps. We need speed bumps in our neighborhoods. We have the most bumpiest roads. If I listen to every single one of those complaints, I think that we've got to put that back on the shoulders of our citizens. We have good citizens of Kansas City. We just have a select few that just don't want to slow down and take the time to be able to be conscientious of their neighbors. If you do have a person that is speeding through your neighborhood and you happen to see the same car over and over again, and it's only one or two people, I would highly suggest if you could be able to get a license plate. If you see that, write it down and send that to one of our CIOs. And then that way we could do a follow-up and do a compliance letter of abatement, telling the individuals of that household that this vehicle at this time has been seen speeding up and down these blocks and that they need to slow down, or a warrant will be sent out for a ticket to them. Of course, that would have to only be done if we have a witness that be willing to testify seeing the vehicle driving carelessly in the neighborhood. But most of the time, that abatement letter in of itself tends to go ahead and take care of the problem, because it's generally a juvenile or a young person that's living in that home, and the parents scold them, and we see that slow down. Another thing that we see with the speeding is during time frames. And if we do have a certain time frame that they're speeding in the neighborhood, we do have a number that could be called through 311, or you can get online and put an online request to have people slow down. So that's been one of our big complaints. Now, as far as burglaries and property crimes, where we see our burglaries and our property crimes, it's just like we see whenever we have people home from school. It goes down. Where we see is crimes of opportunity. Crimes of opportunity be like, for example, a lot of our new builds up in the Northland. We're seeing people in the overnight hours and stealing stuff out of those readily opportunistic properties to be able to get things. So my partner, Officer Jones, who happened just to walk into the office, and he'll be on shortly to give a little bit of a report. What he has done, he's worked with a lot of our different contractors to assess them on how to go on site and to look on how to prevent those crimes. And I'll let him talk a little bit more about how he has done that. If you leave stuff out overnight, you're more likely to get things stolen. If you leave your cars unlocked with a lot of valuables in it, you're more likely to get them stolen. If you don't check your mailbox periodically, and you make sure that if you do have any kind of Social Security checks or any kind of money that's supposed to be sent to you and it's not going direct deposit, I would highly encourage you to have it direct deposited, because in times of crisis, when people are unemployed, they're more likely to go through people's mailboxes and look for any kind of checks or anything that they can be able to cash in, or anything they can take to be able to sell or pawn. So those kind of things you have to keep an eye on and look at, because like I said, when we have a crisis going on where people are having an increase, I think it's at 16%. Last I checked it, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but 16% unemployment across our country. We haven't seen those numbers in years. I would even go as far as the Great Depression. And so because of that, we're seeing those opportunistic crimes starting to be more increased. And so we have to be a little bit more vigilant, be a little bit more neighborly, be able to help out one another. And another thing is our faith-based groups within our churches. It's been really a struggle for a lot of them, because of the fact that they've been having to do this a lot virtual, make phone calls. And so if you do belong to a faith base or to a church, get a hold of the pastor, get a hold of someone in that church to say, hey, what can I do to assist? And it might be just as simple as being on a call list to reach out to someone and say, hello, how are you doing? Do you have a need? And then you can report that back to your faith-based group and let them know what's going on. Who knows? You might just end up saving a life. You might have someone that's been staying at home all by themselves. If you belong to a seniors group where you have a lot of names and you have a lot of people that you might want to reach out to, and just give them a hello once or twice a week to say, how are you doing? What are your needs? What are your wants? And report that back to the community at large within that group that you belong to, so they could be able to assist them and help them. What's been really wonderful and beautiful is that we have a lot of our elderly that have sewed a lot of face masks for me. Over this COVID, I've given out over 150 face masks to different individuals in the community as I've been on patrol. It's such a nicer way to make an approach, to say, hi, someone has cared enough to go ahead and sew these and donate these to the community at large. Because as you well know, that the CDC keeps telling us that if we could wear our face mask when we're out and about, we'll help prevent that spread. As long as we keep on doing our social distancing, wearing our face mask, we're going to go ahead and do a lot of prevention. And as Officer Jones and I are all about prevention as community interaction officers, we would like to be able to keep our community safe and healthy and vibrant and happy. So I'm going to go ahead and let Officer Jones do a little talking here.
Sure. Thank you very much for the initial report there, Officer Keeney. Before Officer Jones gets started, I want to welcome a caller who joined in the middle of your talk there. If you are that caller, could you let us know your name? We're glad to have you here this morning.
No.
Anybody? Maybe still waking up.
Let me just go through a quick. Let me just go through a quick roll call, and if you don't hear your name on here, then let us know who you are. I have Barbara Bourne,
Yes.
Harry and Angie Elvin, Marty Schupels, Betty Dowell, Myrtle Phelps, Marcia Janning, Officer Keeney. If I haven't said your name, shout out and tell me who's here.
Caller
Rick
8.
Jones.
Okay,
Rick
who's
Jones.
the mystery person?
Mario's listening.
Oh,
Rick Jones.
Hello?
Okay, Rick Jones, you were the mystery caller. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And guys, I think this is what we're going to do. It is real hard for anyone to know when they have a chance to speak. So what I'm going to do is we will occasionally throw in a question to the officers from Eli or myself, but then at the very end, I'm going to go person by person and have you ask your question so that everybody gets a chance to ask a question on here. So I think that's where we'll go from there. All right.
sounds good. And I think Officer Jones, you're welcome to take it away at this point.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Rick Jones. I'm the Evening Hours Community Interaction Officer. I was invited to come out, or can you tell I'm still in the old-fashioned meeting mode here a little bit? I was invited to be a part of this, the virtual presentation this morning. So that's why I'm here a little bit early. Anyway, obviously the whole COVID pandemic, it's really put a lot of changes in the way we do things. You know, we're having teleconferences. We're engaging our neighborhoods. We're engaging our community in different ways. And one of the things that I'm still new at, and hopefully I'm picking up on it pretty fast, is just meeting with our neighborhoods virtually. The first one was with the Shawmere neighborhood right at probably about a month ago. They invited me to basically a meeting just like this. It was very successful. Everybody was, there was a whole lot of information being shared. But the thing that was cool about it was, at a traditional meeting, I'm sitting there taking my notes and coming back and doing the research in the office later. What I was able to do is I was literally able to take the questions or the concern as it was being put to me, and I was able to do the research, and I'd have an answer almost instantaneously, for that person, or I could start getting resources in line to start addressing whatever issue that came up. It worked out great, and since then I've been working with Eli and Ed down at NNI, and we're looking to engage neighborhoods on a larger scale. We're looking at the possibilities of doing like maybe our quarterly crime watch here pretty quick. It just depends on when things start opening up, of course. But this pandemic, it's given us an opportunity to embrace more of the technology that's already there, and I hopefully we're going to run with it even once things start opening back up to normal. Bill mentioned something about we're seeing a problem that we see pretty much this time every year with our construction sites. When they're building homes, they're buying their materials in bulk, obviously. And there's so many reasons they do that. It's a necessity for them to do it that way. but unfortunately, builders don't have the they don't have the they don't have the flexibility to take those materials to a storage facility at night or have somebody sit out there 24 hours a day. So they're, they're kind of in a predicament there. And what we're doing is we're going out there, and again we're showing the builders what some of the new technology is out there that that will allow them to deter a lot of this crime. But also what it does is when it does happen, the big thing is just the cameras, what we can do with cameras now. How they're all these camera systems are web based. They're very they're very cost effective anymore. And they what they do is we can get video of suspects. We can get vehicles identified. We can get people identified. We use our license plate reader systems throughout the city to start tying some of these suspects to different areas at different times. And there's just so many avenues of technology that are out there now that makes old-fashioned police work a whole lot easier. Can you think of really anything else that as far as how we've been doing things differently with just the pandemic and all that? Bill?
Well, the biggest thing that we have is also that when we come to a lot of the houses, we're having to wear our mask as we come in. We've had some officers that they've forgotten to put on their masks as they approach some of their homes. And when that does happen, it does upset a lot of the community at large. But it's a getting used to by everyone, including our police officers. I'm sure you all know that we did have an officer in Overland Park that had been struck down or killed, that is, from a hit and run driver. I'm sure that kind of concerns a lot of us. Another thing that we're seeing that we get a lot of calls in is I wouldn't say they're celebratory, but we're seeing people go out and shoot firearms off at nighttime. We normally would see this during 4th of July, or we see this during the New Year's. And so we're getting an increase in calls of people going outside at night and going into a wooded area. And we have a lot of linear parks throughout our Northland community. And because of that, that's one of the things that we've been trying to saturate our neighborhoods and telling them, hey, listen, this is not, what goes up has to come down. Shooting firearms in the city limits, at first it's just plain dumb. It's just plain stupid. But number two, it is so dangerous. I don't know if you all remember about 4 or 5 years ago, it might have been a few more than that, we had a armed security guard that had his license and everything, and he just bought himself a new firearm, and he felt out in the country, and he decided to show his friends. He shot the firearm off. It went and traveled over a mile. It struck a little kid and killed that kid in the backyard. And I don't think that people understand how dangerous that is. We've had a couple of homicides up here in the Northland, which really shocked a lot of us. The most recent one, which happened out in Ravenwood, we do have suspect leads. We do have some ideas, and we think there might be familiarity between everyone. But we can't say anything about it because we're still investigating. It's ongoing. And then the other one was in a parking lot where an individual who was carrying a good-sized log decided to go and another guy in a very aggressive manner. And the individual stood his ground and told the guy to back off, and he fired his firearm and struck the person that killed him. Things that we just normally don't see up in the Northland. These are two isolated incidents, but me and Officer Jones, we want to make sure that we go into those communities immediately afterwards to let them know what the situation is and what has happened, and to be able to let people know, don't be afraid, don't be scared, that Northland is still a very safe community. It's still, it's going to have its isolated, pocketed incidents like this that are going to happen, but we've grown a lot. We've grown quite a bit since Officer Jones has been more up here than I have over the years. I've spent a lot more time down in the city part, and Officer Jones has done a quite more extensive tour of duty up in the Northland than I have. But I've been up here since 2012, and in the 7 years that I've been up here patrolling and policing, I've seen an increase in population, over 10,000 new people. And so when it was about 89,000, now we're looking at 99 to 100,000. And after this new census, we're predicting as high as 110 to 115,000. And we're getting more and more suburban sprawl and more buildings. And because of that population base, if you look at violent crimes and crimes as a whole, statistically speaking, we are the safest place in the whole city to live in still. We have the lowest crime stats throughout the whole city, but of course we can always do better, and that's what we're here for. We're here about prevention.
Yeah, great.
We had a question come in from Marty Shootpels. The question is, how do I report a speeder at night? I just hear them as it screams by, doesn't stop at stop signs or slow down.
Marty, those isolated speeders at night, if it's consistent, if you have it where it's consistent, and it's about the same time every single night, you can still get online and be able to report it online if you wish. You can always still call 311, but more importantly, to go ahead and give the information what time of night it is. Another thing you can always do, Marty, is you can call the non-emergency number and request an extra patrol and let them know, hey, during these hours and this time is when they have it. But a lot of times what happens up here in the Northland, we'll have inconsistency with our speeders. And so what happens is that you'll have a knucklehead that lives in a neighborhood that decides he's going to speed off and on periodically throughout the week, and the officers seem to always miss them. And that's the biggest thing that annoys a lot of us. But I would still go ahead and call that non-emergency number.
Thank you very much. So, Terry, what do you think we should do? Oh, we got another question in here from Marty. I got a scam call that was unique, almost got me.
You got a what?
Anytime I can mention it, a scam call, a scam phone call. I wonder if the question is, where could Marty report this?
Yeah, if you ever want to go ahead and report it, a lot of people always ask that, where do I report this? If you ever get on the www.fbi.gov, or if you ever just type in FBI scam alert, you'd be able to go straight to their website. And it's a really great website because it gives you ideas on how to protect yourself and also how to safeguard yourself. But more importantly, there's when you click onto that site and you open it up, down at the bottom left, there's a place where it says submit an anonymous tip online or cyber scam and incidents. I love it because it's very user friendly. You can click on it and you can go ahead and report that and report the phone number or what have you. But maybe that's something that we can go ahead and send out to Terry, and Terry could be able to send out to the rest of the group that actual website. But that's a good question, Marty. And one other thing is for our seniors, you got to remember is that these scams are not just directed towards seniors. They go out to everybody. They hit everybody. A lot of the times it's done on an algorithm, and it's just like phishing. And they'll sit there and send that out to anybody and everyone. But the sad thing is we see more seniors that are more vulnerable to it. And the reason why they're vulnerable is because they'll go ahead and call. Once they figure out you're a senior, they'll know how to talk and ask you certain questions to make you believe that it's legitimate. You'll get people who say, well, the IRS called me and they said, if I don't make this payment right now, then what's going to happen is I could end up having penalties and possibly even jail time. I can promise you this, the IRS is not going to call you at home. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to phone call you. And then some people have said, hey, I've gotten a letter from the IRS, and it says that I owe money, and if I don't pay the money, and it has this information on how to send in the money and pay it, how do I know when it's real or when it's not real? What I always tell people to do is go ahead and use your technology, or if you have the white pages, look up the actual IRS phone number and call it in. Call it in and see it and make sure it is legitimate. Don't just go ahead and respond to it immediately. And those are some of your safeguards you can do. If you don't think it's real, treat it like it's not real. And then go ahead and verify with the appropriate agency that's supposed to be soliciting you.
Especially on your computer. Do not click on anything on your computer because those are viruses. I got one yesterday that told me that the Supreme Court was subpoenaing me and to click on it. Do not click on it. The Supreme Court or any other court does not subpoena you through your email. So please, 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 anything that you get telling you to click on it that sounds official on your computer, do not click on it. Just assume it's a scam, because there are a lot of ways for official messages to get to you, and if they really want to subpoena you, they will serve you. So you don't want to mess up your computer with that kind of thing.
Terry, that is so awesome that you brought that up. I mean, that's 100% spot on, Terry. I mean, you know, one thing that we have from our cyber enforcement officers, they'll send out tests to us to see if even us officers will click on it. And when we click on it, it'll pop up and say, "You just been caught." And we're all vulnerable. Every single one of us are all vulnerable to it, you know. Yeah. So we even get tested on. But Terry is so correct on.
Well, they're very good. They sound very professional. They make it really. Also, another email one is to say that you have an invoice this is due, or a bill that is due. Don't click on anything that says open this invoice. Don't do it.
Yes, that is very true, Terry. And you know, I think that the big clue would be to click on. If you see that where you're going to click on, and Terry, you and I both know that majority of the time if someone has a payment due, you're going to know what payments you have due and when you have due. And so the biggest thing is to see who that provider is, call them up directly and say, "Hey, I got an email and it says to click on this. What is up with this?" Don't just go and click on it and pay it that way, because you're not probably paying the bill. You're paying some guy out in somewhere else, and we don't want you to do that. Wouldn't you agree, Terry?
Absolutely.
I absolutely agree. You can also tell mostly from their email. If you see, it will say Tom Jones at, the rest of it will not be the name of the company. It will be a very odd place, and that will tell you that it's not coming from the company. Like, it won't say Tom Jones at Time Warner. It will say Tom Jones at, you know, earthlink.com. That's not a company. So just, and I agree. Always call. If you think there's anything that could be legitimate about it, call before you click on it, because you can really destroy your computer system with that.
And not only your computer system, you're also destroying your credit, and you're losing money, and half the time trying to trace down the individuals that had taken that money, you're not going to be compensated for it. And another thing is that don't call the phone number that they provide for you on that same email. You know, you're going to have to take your time to go and look it up somewhere else, either through a white pages or Googling it on a separate, separate search engine to actually find a legitimate phone number. Because a lot of times what they'll do is they say, if you have any questions, please contact. And then once you contact that individual, that's the scam artist as well, who's trying to scam you out of additional funds.
Correct. Marty, I see that your call was about your brother being in a car wreck and in jail. That is a big hoax. That happened to my parents as well. And they're good enough that my parents, as smart and sharp as they were prepared to go get money and send it to them. And luckily they called us first, and we said, stop. Not true, don't do it. But they're very good at what they do.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, this is Mario. And a question.
Terry,
yes,
I have
Mario, please go ahead.
Oh, Terry, where could we get a couple masks?
It's an excellent question. Right now, you can find online some homemade masks, and anybody who wants a mask, I want you to call me or email me, and I will help you figure out where to find one. But as far as the paper masks that even the ones, not the heavy duty ones from the hospital that nobody can get, but just the paper masks that they wear, I have been trying to order for our office for some time, and I thought I finally got them and they were due to be here this week. And I got an email yesterday saying the company is basically disappeared, and so I may or may not get them. It says that they shipped, but the masks, for paper masks, no matter what anybody's telling you, they are very difficult to come by because we are trying to get them. But anybody who needs just a cloth, a homemade mask, when we're done here, I'm going to go through and anybody tell me if you need one, and I'm going to see what I can do to get everybody some kind of a mask. But this is a real problem.
Terry?
I had a couple of people, yes.
Terry, just to let you know that Officer Jones and I still have some cloth homemade masks that have been donated to us that would be more than willing to donate to this awesome cause. And so if people email you, we will make sure that we will hand deliver them to those individuals.
Oh, wonderful.
You guys are awesome. Very good. Okay, so you heard him. So when we're done here, please tell me if you need a mask. Email me. But at the end of the meeting, yeah, if you need a mask, we're going to go one by one at the end of the meeting to see what everybody's thoughts, concerns, questions are, and please tell them our officers. We have got Officers Jones and Keeney. They are really
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Terry, do you think it's time now to go ahead and go through those questions for everybody?
Yes, I have a question.
That I'm going to tell you. Okay, let me go through some real quick things going on at NNI, and then we're gonna go through everybody's questions. We are still doing everything that we can from a remote location. However, if you neighborhoods are needing a newsletter or anything like that, they can still send me an email or call me, and we can work out how to get that to you. Again, the mask issue is a big one for us for home repair. We are preparing every application that comes in to get ready. However, we cannot go out and do home repair or inspections on people's homes until we have enough masks that we can wear a mask and also give one to the person's home that we're entering. So we are working as hard as we can to get that in place. We're going to try to start some outdoor home repairs first so that we can keep people as safe as possible. We are not going to have face-to-face meetings for some time. We have no idea how long, but we are not going to put anyone in danger for, I'm going to just say for the rest of the summer for sure. The rest of the summer is out. We're not going to be doing face-to-face meetings. All of our meetings will be online, just like this meeting here. If you would like to be part of those meetings and you don't have email, please let me know. I will call you and tell you and mail you the links and the phone numbers, because the phone number will change for every meeting. So I will, if you want to be in on, we have town hall meetings with our council people. We've had the chief of police. We are going to continue to have guests come in. So when we come to your part to answer a question, if you want to be notified of those meetings, tell me that you do, and if you have email, I'll put you on the email list, and if you do not, I will call you and give you the information, or I will mail you a card with all of the information. We are still, at this point, planning on moving our offices to Antioch in October. That is still on the table. There have been all kinds of bumps and hurdles and roadblocks. I don't know about Officer Keeney not being able to get a speed bump, but we sure can, I'm telling you. So, but right at this point, it's on the table. We are right to the last second here of getting our contractors ready to go in order to have time to get it done for us to move in. So, but we'll keep you updated on that as we go. So I'm going to let Eli go from person to person. and he's going to call your name, and when he does, go ahead and throw out your questions, your concerns, anything that you got going on.
Thank you, Terry. I'm going to go a little bit out of order at first. I know, Mario, you had spoken up a couple of times with a question. Could you let us know your last name, Mario, so that we can have the roll call ready to go?
Okay, Mario Mayorga, Mayorga.
Thank you. And you had a question?
My question is, do you have an idea how many persons die because of the virus here north of the river? Because the TV, they keep on changing, and we never know exactly. Is there any chance you can find out?
Yeah, I can. I can tell you the numbers from last night, because this may sound morbid, but I keep a statistic every day of what's going on. In Clay County, this is all of Clay County. Yesterday evening, there were 283 cases and 3 deaths.
Okay.
In Kansas City, encompassing all of Kansas City.
Okay,
there were.
Let me say it again, because I have to write it down. 200 and what?
283.
283. That's only
283 cases in Clay County and 789 in Kansas City altogether. And in Missouri, 10,006.
Wow.
But that's only how about the dead people? That's what I would like to know.
You said you were asking about how many
in Clay
people
County,
have died?
3. Correct.
3 persons?
In Clay County, 3 people have died. In Kansas City, 16.
Okay. All right, because so far we are still better than some of the...
Which means we're doing a good... We are, and the reason that is, Marty, is because we have all been following the rules.
Now is another suggestion. Something that works too is a bandana, long bandana, and inside you can put a coffee filter. That will help.
Yes, I've heard that as well. Mm-hmm.
Of course, you're going to look like
Thank you.
Like Jesse James, but that's okay. You're not rubbing it back.
Luckily, we're in the right area for that, I suppose.
Sorry, I love you.
Okay.
All right, so let's continue on with our list of attendees here. Barbara Bourne, do you have a question for the officers or for NNI?
I cannot think of anything that I wanted to ask about. I'll wait and hear everybody else's questions, and maybe I'll come up with something, but I don't have anything right now.
Sounds good. We'll get back to you before the end here. Moving right along, Betty Dowell, do you have any questions for the officers or for anyone?
Well, I was just concerned about the mask. We have 2 paper masks, but we've had them for quite a while, and so I think we could use a couple more.
Certainly, yeah, and it's good to know that those resources are available. Thank you again to the officers for extending that offer.
Yeah.
All right, so moving right along. Next we have Harvey and Angie Elvin. Any questions from you folks?
Not really. We just want class of next week's math meetings. Okay.
Well, we're in Gladstone,
Certainly.
and as far as we know, nobody in Gladstone has the virus.
That's great news.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
All right,
we're getting on real well. But as far
good,
as
glad to hear it.
of course, we got some loud cars, but you can't take care of that. Hello. Okay,
A little bit of feedback there. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so next we have Marcia Janning. Any questions for us, Marcia?
Well, a comment. I sure would like to see the horses back, and I know that's probably never going to happen, but I think that the mounted patrol for Kansas City, I really think that we need to reevaluate that, but maybe that's at this point in time, maybe that's just way never going to ever even come up again. But I think it makes a lot of difference to neighborhoods and children, and I think it was not a good idea to take it out, but you got to do what you got to do. So end of comment.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for that, Marcia. Officers, do you have any insight into potential plans to bring the mounted policing unit back?
You know, we loved our mounted patrol. We really did. And it really broke our chief's heart to have to go ahead and do budget cuts. And, you know, policing is a lot more expensive than what it used to be. I mean, think about this phone call alone. You know, we're talking about cyber crimes and the way our criminals operate. They don't operate like they used to. They operate in a more sophisticated way. In order to go ahead and catch our criminals, it takes money. And sadly to say, at the same time, officers, we are still hurting on recruiting officers. For some strange reason, people don't want to become police officers like they used to. And then going through the candidate and finding good quality candidates has been very difficult. Some of our candidates have actually failed during the process because they come to the process with narcotics in their system. I mean, who would have ever thought that? Who would have ever thought that anyone would think to apply for any job, less a police officer's job, with narcotics in their system? And so with everything that goes on in our society, there's a lot of fear of becoming a police officer. Myself and Officer Jones together, we have over 45 years worth of law enforcement experience between the two of us, and we absolutely love serving our community, and we absolutely love being police officers. And I can honestly say it is an honorable profession. It is a profession that 90% of our communities love us. They support us. There might be a 10% ratio that might have different questions about us. But saying that, it costs money to put police officers into police cars. It costs money to suit those police officers all up with the modern day equipment that they need. It takes money to go ahead and take those vehicles and suit them up completely with cameras, with computers. I mean, it wasn't like when I first came on, all I had in my police car was a little button on the bottom by my foot that you'd push and it'd initiate lights and sirens. And I had a shotgun, and that was it. Nowadays, you have all kinds of stuff in there. And I could take a pen and a piece of paper and write a report. But now, instead, you know, it costs about $50,000 per car. $50,000 per car.
Wow.
That's just to get it ready to get on the street. And so somewhere the chief has to look at, where do I trim the budget? Where do I trim it? And where do I put police officers back out in the field and get those police officers? If you remember, we had a prior chief, Chief Forte, that cut out our CIOs, cut out our community interaction officers and stuck them back out in the field. I'm sorry, but if I was going to choose having community-oriented officers to do community policing and get out and do community engagement for prevention versus mounted patrol, I'd probably end up saying, hey, we need those community officers out there making those connections and resources first and foremost, and we're going to have to slash other places, and that's what our chief had to make decisions. But no, he did not want to do it. And if the budget comes down to it, we're later on in the future, and it looks like we could be able to afford to bring them back on, trust me, Chief Smith and every officer out here would love to be able to have that mounted patrol back.
Yes, I must comment again on that when you see them in New York, when they still have their horses, and it's too bad that we couldn't. But that's it. I'm quiet. Go on, please. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you, Marcia, for asking. Marty is next on our list. And Marty, I see that you had asked a question in the chat. You say, I have some scarves that Kitty used to wear. Could you use them, Terry? Terry, you might want to follow up individually with that one. You're muted right now.
I will. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I will. I'll message you back, Marty.
Thanks.
Sounds good. And then, Marty, do you have any other questions for us?
Just mainly a couple of comments. I wanted to thank Officer Keeney and Jones again for that food boxes. They're being used.
Yes.
And the I wanted to say again that Northland Shepherd Center has been kind of hamstrung the same way that a lot of other groups are right now, but the way it's being shut down right now because of this COVID really points out how much of a blessing it was, and it hurts. And
Yeah,
that's my comment for the
agreed.
moment. That's it for the moment.
Gotcha. Well, thank you, Marty. Looks like last on our list here of listeners is Myrtle Phelps. Myrtle, do you have any questions for us?
No, but I do appreciate all you guys are doing, and I'd like to be on the list for the monthly meetings. I'd like that. Thank you for being here. That's all.
Certainly, yeah. We can make sure you get added to that
Excellent,
list.
Myrtle. I will. Myrtle, if you have an email.
Again. Hello, this is Harvey again.
Myrtle, if you have a.
I do have an email.
Go ahead, Harvey. Okay, hold on, Harvey, 1 minute. Myrtle, if you will send me an email, you can even send it to info, I-N-F-O, at NNI, excuse me, info@nni.org. Send me that, and I will get you on our list.
Okay. All right.
And then Harvey, you had a question or comment to add?
Yes, we got a granddaughter call the other day. Hi, Grandpa, how are you? And I said, well, I'm doing fine. How are you? And she says, oh, I'm doing great. And I said, well, I'm sure glad you called because, you owe me that money. And click.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Harvey, you win on that one. That's the win.
Granddaughter isn't that old.
Granddaughter isn't. Yeah, they're everywhere.
And they're not that old.
Yeah.
They're little kids.
Well, that's fun.
When I said you owe me money, they hung up.
This is Marty. Can I make a comment?
Sure, Marty.
There's one thing I wanted to say about that scam phone call.
Yeah.
One of the things you can do to prevent you getting too sucked in is ask questions about the call to the caller, something that maybe only you know, because I got in too far this time, and I finally asked the question that the spidey hairs on the back of my neck were going up, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, that ain't my brother. That isn't his attitudes or what would happen to him. And I asked a question, and I got a really, really bad answer. And that phone hung up right then.
Mhm.
They know when they're
Good thinking.
guilty.
Good thinking.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're back at the top of our list here. Barbara, Betty, you folks who wanted to be kind of passed over at first, do you have any questions that came to mind?
Not really. I could use one of those face masks also if they have an extra one. I can't think of anything else that I wanted to ask about, so I go on to somebody else.
Sounds good. And
Barbara,
Betty,
do you
what
need
about
one
you?
for your husband too?
What?
I'm sorry, hang on. Barbara, did you need one for your husband too?
Yes.
Okay. So you need 2 masks, and we've got Betty Dow for 2 masks. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Great. And Betty, was there anything from you?
I don't think so. No, it was very interesting. I want to thank the officers for everything they're doing. We really appreciate them. So it was nice.
Good. I'm so glad. So, Officers Keeney and Jones, we'll give you a chance to close things out here then.
Well, first of all, Terry, now that we know that you found the solution for speed bumps, any speed bump or requests we get here in the office, we'll just send them over to you. How's that sound?
Absolutely. We're not doing anything but falling over them, but we can.
You know, our masks that we're going to be handing out to people, just to let you know, those are homemade masks. They are made of cloth. It is hard to find the paper mask, like Terry's saying. Another thing is, along with those paper masks, we're seeing a lot of fraud being sent by email saying, "Hey, you can get these paper masks for this cost or this price. Just send in this amount of money." And so be careful with that too. We're seeing them sending those out as well. I get about 2 or 3 of those emails a day because I purposely put myself out there to bring in those scams so I can forward those over to the different agencies to look over them. And so I know they're out there. So those cloth masks, and if it looks like we need more, I've got happy little sewers that I will send the request out to when I run out of my supply to get my happy sewers sewing up some more masks. I want to thank the Rotary Club for helping us out with that. I want to also thank a few of our elderly people in the community that are doing this, and they're using their own cloth and their own supplies, and they don't want any money. They don't want any donations. It's been amazing. This is community.
Wonderful.
This is what it's all about. We love you all. I want you guys to know that. The Kansas, Missouri Police Department is here to serve you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bravo.
That is fantastic.
And Terry, any closing words from you?
A question on face.
We will be having.
Go ahead.
Harvey, you had a question?
Yes. I've heard pro and con on face mask. One guy said, well, if you wear that mask out in public and around where there might be somebody, then you come home and put your hands on the mask, where then you got it on your hands. What's their thought on that?
So when you're wearing your mask and you get home, the way you should take it off is grab it from the back side, go ahead and undo it, never touching any of the front side. Go ahead and have yourself some hot water and soap. Put it in the hot water and soap. Let it sit in there. Go ahead and let it sit and clean it all up. And you can go ahead and throw them straight into the wash machine is better. So if you can put them right in the wash machine, it's better. And they could be then put to the dryer. That high heat on the dryer is what kills them. So if they're not dirty, you can take them right off, again, from the backside, stick them right into a dryer. Now, all the cloth ones I have, they don't have any metal in them, none whatsoever. And the other option they tell you to do, you can put them, since they have no metal, you can put them in a microwave and heat it. Now, I don't like that idea personally. I'd much rather see you guys do it in the dryer. But it's just making sure when you take it off, you're not touching that front part.
Yeah, I've heard that.
We could use 2 of those cloth ones.
But we're in Gladstone.
That's Harvey and Angie?
Okay, I'm going to put
All right.
Harvey and Angie. I've got you down for 2.
And Gladstone, don't worry, you Gladstone residents, Officer Jones and I have delivered food boxes from all the way far north as Smithville. So don't worry about if you live in Gladstone, okay?
We didn't get one of the last ones.
Put you on the list, hon. We'll get you on that list.
You did not?
Hey, and I want you to know I cooked a pot of beans yesterday. We got beans for today.
Great.
Excellent.
Great. All right. So, Terry, any closing words from you?
No.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
We are going to. I've got a couple of. One more thing. I've got a couple of people that I'm lining up to be speakers. I have someone from Humana, but I have not set a date yet because I wanted to check this out, make sure it really worked. So I will be sending more cards. I'm going to go ahead and keep mailing the cards with all of the information.
Yes,
and
that
then
was
anybody
that was
email
nice.
also send the link. So we do have more coming up. Betty Franklin, or I can't remember her name now. Becky Franklin from Tri-County would like to do a presentation. So I've got some people working, but I wanted to make sure we were good with this. We got it going, and you guys are fabulous. You got on here easily. So and the phone is perfectly fine. We don't need cameras.
Yes.
So
right.
So this works great. And I'm going to start lining this up until we can meet again. I cannot provide you popcorn and hot dogs through the telephone, so we won't be doing movies. But, which is really too
Thank
bad.
you so much.
So everybody, but we will get a lineup, and I'm going to send them out individually as we get them. I'll send you out individual cards for each meeting with the date, so we won't have any confusion about what's going on. Thank you guys for coming on.
Okay.
And I'm gonna
bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Yep. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you again for tuning in, and stay safe out there.
All right.
Bye-bye.